Hey gang, Nathan here, TransMidwife. This video is playfully called Naming and Pronouning Yourself, because this is a tricky part of human identity, and it's something that a lot of people don't really think about or have to think about. And then for trans or gender questioning people, or, gender fluid people, yeah, it's a big thing that we really have to examine closely and come to some decisions about. So I'm going to start with names. How do you come to a decision about what to call yourself? It's a big thing. It's a big thing for parents when they initially name you as well. I know that some people, some trans people, or people selecting a new name, go to their parents initially and sort of ask, what would I have been called if I was my identified gender at birth, or is there any other names that you were going to use or that you liked? Or some people choose like 4 names or something, and then they take that to their parents and ask, which one do you like, or let them pick it, which is really lovely, and I think works if you have supportive parents, loving parents. And sometimes parents, it helps them to accept things if they can be involved in that process, but it is only for people who, want their parents to be involved in that process, because it's your name at the end of the day and there's no obligation to get anyone else involved. I think, so my 2 names, because I kind of have the nickname Danny and then my legal name, which is Nathan, my 2 names kind of came about very naturally. It wasn't like a big process where I sat down and went through a load of baby names and tried to name myself. Well, that's another thing. Some people, when they're trying to name themselves and they just have no idea, one of the tricks they do is they look at names, baby names that were popular in the year that they were born. So it's, I guess, so that they don't choose something too out of the ordinary, but you can choose something out of the ordinary if you like, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so what was I saying? I've gone off track now. Yeah, my 2 names came about very naturally. So I did a lot of role play, as we know if we watched other stuff on my channel, and I had some characters called, well, I'll tell you. So I had an elf guy called Daneriel, and so the first 3 letters were D-A-N, Dan. So in, the guild chat, it's just kind of like the big group chat, I guess, everyone called me Dan, Danny, Dan boy, the Danster, Dan man, the usual, So that kind of stuck with me. And also as a teenager, I'd met a girl called Danny and a guy called Danny, and I really liked it as a name, and I liked that it was so neutral. But obviously I went with the traditionally more masculine spelling, D-A-N-N-Y. So I started using that as my nickname. And then it came to picking my legal name, and for me that wasn't going to be my legal name, because, as you know, I've always been very binary male, and my name, it was important for my name to represent that for me, not be the neutral nickname that I was using. I wanted something clearly, well, again, things don't have to have a gender, but something that was traditionally masculine. And for that name, I just then I chose my favourite one, which was Nathan. It's always been one of my favourite male names. I first heard it and kind of fell in love with it from a book I read when I was 12 or 13, and the character was called Nathaniel and often shortened to Nathan, and I really liked it, and I remember that feeling. It's like an affinity with the name. Couple of, maybe a year before I came out as well, I did write quite a long story about a character called Nathan. It was kind of a weird beast, werewolf, vampire thing. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of how I came about my two names. And I was sort of lucky that they kind of fell in my lap and it was quite natural, and I didn't go through this painstaking process of trying to pick one with nothing to go on, because that is hard. I think in terms of advice, if you're wondering what to name yourself, you could try some of the tricks, but really I think it should just be the name that you love. And also another thing you can do is just start with a name that you like, or really like, hopefully, and just get some people that you really trust to just call you it for a while. And for me, that was as simple as them calling it me over text. You know, it didn't make a difference. But just asking them to refer to you by that name. So it's not necessarily definitely going to be my name, but I just need to hear it and see if it applies to me and see if it works for me. And you know, your true supporters will happily do that and then happily change later. Yeah, so that's a way that you can practice. That kind of leads me on to pronouns, because I would say it is a similar thing about feeling it out and feeling your way. So you'll need to try them on like a hat, see if it fits. I would sort of start with some trusted friends and say, you know, these pronouns aren't working for me. I don't feel comfortable when I hear them. Or I want to see if, you know, something makes me feel more comfortable. And then just try some different ones. Try the one you think is right with your close friends or over text with someone, etc. And if it resonates with you and you get sort of a little hit of euphoria, or you just don't feel uncomfortable, because a lot of people say that, you know, it's not a good feeling or a bad feeling, it's just a lack of discomfort. And if you get that, then it's probably right. And that's it. You're just going to have to experiment a little bit. And, you know, I've known, I felt it myself. I feel it all the time. And I know a lot of other people who felt the same, which is guilt about naming and pronouncing yourself and then changing it again later. Please don't feel guilty. Everyone in my life is so happy to change it as many times as I need until I get it right. And I think the way to think about it is for the person supporting you, it's a small moment in their day, a small few moments in their day, and little changes that feel very easy in order to help the person that they care about. Whereas for you, it's a massive deal, it's huge, it's your life, it's your identity. So let them do that little bit of work for you and let go of the guilt, and you'll find what's right. And yeah, you'll come to a sense of peace eventually. Another thing about names and pronouns, though, is it's normal, and I know this because I've felt it, and then a lot of other people that I've read about and talked about, this is trans women, trans men, non-binary, all sorts of people have said the same. It is normal to have a period of time where it feels a bit strange to hear a new name and pronouns, because think about it, you're so programmed to hear it. It's what's been you for however many years, and changing that even if it's great and it's right and it's the thing, it's still going to be alien to you and it's going to feel strange. And B, it's normal to misgender yourself, mispronoun, and dead name yourself. That is all normal, like in your own head, in your dreams, and even out loud. You know, I'll often try and be referring to myself, because I'm a bit of a storyteller, as you can probably tell. Trying to refer to myself, and I will often say she, and it is habit. It's massively about habit, and also I think a little bit of that guilt, nervousness, feeling. We do need to try and lead our loved ones by example a bit, but it is so hard sometimes just to call yourself your preferred pronoun, because you're just nervous about putting it out there, and yeah, I find it really hard. I think there's one more thing that I'd like to talk about as part of all of that, is kind of correcting other people and how hard that can be. So it was often at work, but friends too, people would say to me, you know, listen, if I say the wrong thing, please correct me. Or they would say, or they'd hear someone misgender me or whatever, and they'd say, oh, why didn't you correct them? And I'll tell you why. It's a huge amount of emotional labour to firstly hear the wrong thing, because your brain gets hit with something that doesn't match your brain, and then it goes through this weird period. So I had a lot of disassociation, so I'd hear she or my dead name and I literally went blank, like it just phased out, and I'd forget everything I was doing, as if I could then speak. Not a chance. So in the moment I could not correct people for months, and so yeah, people be like, so casually like, so why didn't you just correct them? I can't. Not in the moment, I can't, because when I hear it, my brain jams. And that's yeah, it doesn't hurt me really. It hurts a lot of people, but it doesn't hurt me. It just kind of breaks my brain. It's like it goes on pause or something. So yeah, I can't correct people in the moment, and I think it's very common that other people can't. It takes a hell of a lot of courage as well. I've said this in other videos. It's like every day, every moment, we're having to advocate for ourselves and for our identity, and not many people have to live like that. I mean, I guess most of the kind of minorities do, really. That's part of it, is that kind of fighting and advocating for your own existence. And that's something that we all share, LGBT community, repressed ethnicities, yeah, so that's a shared experience, I think. And that is why it is hard to correct people in the moment. I know that people can often feel a real sense of achievement when they do finally manage to correct someone. I don't really feel that, but I have got better at it lately. I'm starting to be able to say something kind of, but I still can't do it in that second. The one thing that I really can't cope with is, there's a word for it. Like when people refer to people as ladies or guys or lads or girls, or, you know, those words. I know there's a word for it, I can't think what it is. I am better at correcting that, and I hate that even more than pronouns. When I hear it, it just makes me feel like I shouldn't be there. Literally like I shouldn't be there. So they walk in the room, they say, "Morning, ladies," and I feel erased. I feel like I shouldn't be there, and it's rude of me to not turn around and say hello, but in my head they're not addressing me, so why would I answer? And that's how it feels. So I am better at correcting that. I can say, not a lady, or, you know, I kind of just look at them and go, hi, no. But still struggling with correcting name and pronouns, yeah. I think that's all for that video. I hope that this ramble was vaguely helpful and just at least relatable to people. Good luck with it. I'm always here. I'm always happy to message with people if you are struggling. And yeah, give yourself a break from the guilt and just try and find what you need and be open about it, and you'll find that the people around you will help and love you. Okay, and if they don't, I do.